So I'm at Kerikeri Beach in West Auckland, and I'm in the middle of a swamp. Believe it or not, I'm actually in the middle of a swamp, and there's a picnic table that I'm sitting on in this swamp at the base of the hills surrounding the beach itself, and it's an unusual place to make a video, to say the least, but it kind of actually is quite fitting due to how I feel right now about my life and where I'm at in my life experience. That being a swamp. It feels very heavy and dense, and the energy that I'm feeling in my life at the moment is like that. I feel very overwhelmed in many ways by what I'm experiencing. So last week I saw one of my practitioners who I see in Auckland when I'm in Auckland quite a lot, called Sarah Cotter, to have a form of Rongoa, Mauri medicine, Mauri medicinal practice, healing practice, called Romi Romi, which is a form of deep tissue work that goes along with karakia, prayer and intention, to move often energetic blocks, but also to remove astral and deeper etheric energies that it might have attached to the body, in my experience anyway. And last week while I was working with Sarah, I had an experience where I was actually moved through my body and moved through the processes of the body work. She moved through my entire body, and then what we discovered in my last part of the session, she put her elbow into my abdominal sort of intestinal region, and when she pressed down with all her weight into that region, as I breathed through it, what I felt in my body, energetically and also etherically, was this energy of this entity that was in my intestinal tract, in my body, and it coiled up deeper into my intestinal tract. And I could feel the physical experience of this thing coiling up on my body. And it wasn't just a mind-bending hallucination, a physical hallucination. It was a real thing. It was a real experience. I could totally feel this thing. I visualized it and felt it getting deeper into a more, I wanted to hide away from what Sarah was doing and what she was moving. And she said to me, I can remove that, but I'll take a couple of sessions to remove it. And then when she said that, the first thing that came to my mind, to my awareness, was that this was an ancestral etheric attachment that had gone through my father's side of the family, through the genealogy, and was hooking into the male side of the family. Not the female side of the family on my father's side, but my male side of the family on my father's side. And it was moving through that line, and it had come through me due to the nature of my traumatic childhood. It had moved from my father, and when he died, into me, etherically, energetically. It moved into me, and it had been there for a long time. And at the time when she was doing the body work, it had become dormant in my body due to the nature of the shadow work that I've been doing for years, and my own dietary changes, my lifestyle changes, my self-awareness. This entity had gone into like a hibernation. And when she put her elbow into my intestinal lower abdominal region and began to press into that area, it recognized the fact that she was a threat to it. So it began to curl up and coil up tighter, like the alien and hiding in the chest from Ridley Scott movies. It got tighter and it coiled up in my intestinal tract, and I knew right away, aha, there you are. So for me, after this experience, what I decided to do was I began to, with intention, give back and send back all energies in my etheric, my body, mind and spirit, with intention. Every night, every day, I say this: I release all energy that is not mine, negative and foreign, and I send it back to wherever it came from with compassion and love. I do not wish to carry this in my body. Ancestral, trauma, any beings in my body, anything that's negative or foreign, I do not wish to carry it in my body, and I send it back with love and compassion to wherever it came from. And that's exactly what I did. I've been doing is sending this energy back to wherever it came from, and it's not mine to carry. I don't want to carry this in my being, in my body, mind, and spirit. I don't want to carry this energy in my body, mind, and spirit. So the question now becomes for me: do I continue to work with Sarah to work through removing this energy, this etheric entity? And for me, the way I look at this is it goes from the less dense into the more dense. So this entity, I feel, was initially more of an etheric entity, more of an energetic thing. And as it became more, as through the nature of trauma and through the nature of patterns that I was enacting in my life experience, like a well-worn groove of a record, of a vinyl record, that energy began to become more and more dense over time, and more with repetition of a certain mind frame, of a certain pattern, of a certain experience and belief. That entity became more and more solid until eventually it manifested as a parasite in my body. And of course, in my experience, most parasites tend to go and hide out places where they're not going to be found. And I think the gut and the lower intestinal tract is a good place for parasites to hide. And despite my number of enemas and colonics and cleanses, energetically, physically, I still feel as though there is something definitely within my body that's something, or some things in my body that definitely have maintained and been able to maintain their presence in my body, even with deep cleanses, deep cleanses. And this process will continue in my life. I do feel as well, there's that the more I do my shadow work, the more I become self-aware, the more I stretch into the most uncomfortable places of my life experience, in my body, in my mind and spirit. The more I do this work, the more I become more involved in this, the more I set my mind to and my intention to use this energy as such, the more I'm going to have the opportunity to encounter these deep parts of myself, unconscious parts of myself that relate to trauma, relate to wounds, and heal them and integrate them and transmute them and alchemize them, and through this transfiguration release them as well from my body, mind and spirit. And this is a deep process, because at this time in my life, where I am at in my life now, this is July, I'm making this video in July 2024, I feel so overwhelmed energetically, so overwhelmed, and not, well, sort of confused as well, confused but very overwhelmed. I had the purpose that I've come up to Auckland for, I've achieved that purpose, and now I'm in this spaciousness, and I'm allowing the spaciousness and surrendering into the spaciousness, even though it feels really uncomfortable for me to surrender into this energy. And by also being in that spaciousness, allowing in that void space, the space for grace to come into my life and fill that void, as I've seen before in various card readings, and people have said, once you create the spaciousness in your life and be open to it, grace will come into that void and fill that void. And that's what I'm feeling into, that sense of like trust, the sense of this deep sense of spaciousness and trusting that something will come into my life that will direct me and give me the purpose to move forward, and give me direction, give me purpose, give me alignment to my heart, and then therefore by doing that will take me into a place of deeper reverence for the life experience that I'm having at the moment, because it is difficult and it's hard, and it's also it feels really sticky and heavy, the energy around me at the moment, and I'm doing my best to navigate that energy of that stickiness and heaviness. And a lot of that I do feel isn't mine. I'm subject to it because I'm surrounding myself around people that are feeling that way, and there's a lot of energy around people that I'm hanging out with that have that overwhelming sense that I have, but on a whole different level. And therefore I'm carrying, as an empath, I'm carrying that energy from them around with me. Like I said before, I'm looking for a way to offload it back to wherever it came from, so I can deal with my own life path and move in a way that is more affirmative to what I need to do in my life, rather than holding the space for other people, which I've done for the last 4 weeks, which is, I have to say, incredibly powerful, but also really tiring as well. And finding that balance between holding space with people and then looking to do what makes your heart sing. And I find winter very difficult sometimes. The last few years have been really good because I've had a really strong base to come back to hibernate into, and to be able to integrate from what I've learned over the spring and the summer and bring that in and embody it. But this winter's been very difficult because I haven't had a real solid base. I felt like I've gone from here to there to there to there and never had a solid base, or I also don't have the desire to commit to anything. And the opportunities that I've looked to create for myself, to co-create with the universe, to have a base, every time I've gone to create that base in certain locations around the country, it's floundered, it's fallen over. I haven't had the opportunity to take somewhere to call my own and a base. I've had opportunities presenting themselves to me that didn't feel right. And the ones that I looked into to make my own in regards to how I could move into those spaces and occupy those spaces and use them as bases to work through what I'd gone through in the last spring, summer last year, and that sense of expansiveness, and then bring it in and integrate and embody what I'd learned. I haven't had the chance to do that because I've been holding space for other people. So it's quite tiring to be in the place that I am. I feel like I really need to just stop and have a purpose in regards to work, with a purpose in regards to integration of what I learned over the summer and the spring, and in that balance of having both those energies and having that base to be able to do both those places, to come back to in regards to after finishing my work, and then having my other work to do as well, and that balance of having the opportunity to be able to work through the integration of what I've learned in the spring and the summer. I haven't had that. I've been bouncing around from location to location to location to location, and it's tiring me out. And my next question for me is, do I go overseas? Do I go back overseas again and travel, and then find somewhere overseas just to stop, have a base somewhere overseas and just stop, and have the sense of expansiveness I could feel again, because it would be, if I go to a warmer country, that energy, and then find a way to balance that with what I want to experience in regards to bringing in and integrating what I'd learned over the last summer? Or do I stay here in Te Moana Nui Kiwa in this country and find somewhere for the next 7 weeks, because I'm going to Australia in September for 2 months, for the next 7 weeks, to stop somewhere and then just go, right, this is it, this is my line in the sand, this is where I stop, this is where I do my work. Big questions to ask oneself, but it's really overwhelming for me in this moment, and I feel quite privileged and blessed to be able to share this with you. So thank you for watching. I truly appreciate it. Mā te wa. I'll see you again soon.